I realize that no one will ever believe me that like the Bible's translation is so freaking weird. So I thought I'd show you the actual text. One thing I want to point out first, though, you see how right next to my head there's like a blue line, and then there's Aklau san kai dethe san mu. Well, that's like got a dot like on the left and right. So like a sentence can be really short in Greek. You have to remember this is what the Bible looked like, and like I don't see semicolons at all, and a semicolon is a question mark. But like I do see that dot in the middle, and that's it. That's the only punctuation we got. And what's that punctuation mean? It seems like this one translator is doing a colon a lot, but a lot of the time he just completely ignores it. So when I'm looking at this paragraph, like there are two paragraphs, one by my head and one above, and like there's like this finishing part of the sentence where I have like, if you look at the English words, there's fig tree and then there's a colon. That's where what he puts for the dot. It's a colon. It's not his period. But if there's no other dot like there, so like you have to go all the way up to the next spot to go find where the sentence begins. So there are two paragraphs before a dot happens. Is this normal? It's like every single time. So here, the end of the sentence is a question mark because there's Lord, that's Kyrio, but it can be Kyrio, it can be a lot of different variations. Like there's Kyrio right next to my head, and then there's a line. And so that's where that ends. But where does that sentence begin? Right next to my head, where pantis is. So there's a dot before pantis, and pantis would be like all. So above my head, there is what looks like a semicolon. So that's what they use for the dot. They used a semicolon. Sometimes it will be a comma. Sometimes it will be a semicolon because it will be a list, and they will like have the period as a part of the list. So this sentence right here starts with dia tutu, which like dia I've been arguing is Dian, and or dia would be like Egyptian, I mean, and then it starts talking about Memphis, which was the old capital of Egypt. But they also have this word Egypto, and what would that mean? Like if I start thinking about the Greek, I feel like it has to do with nudity. Like there's like a lot of naked people in Egypt, maybe. I don't know. But like that's just complete guess. But I was looking for something like that. I was hoping I took a screenshot of something. I guess probably my big question would be like, when there's a period here, does that end the sentence? Because I noticed that sometimes like it doesn't end the sentence. Like you have to like figure out how to combine the two paragraphs, and like I feel like that's kind of at the discretion of the translator probably. So here's a good example of one that has a period right there. There's a period over there. All before it hits like a period, which is right next to my head, which has tetamenon, which is, that refers to a bent bow, which is really confusing to me because like tetamenon for me like would be like related to your children. But I guess not because that'd be tech. But here's the eyes, and so it'd be like I want uden, egenanto. I don't know. That was a word that I was really into before, the egg. So what I'm trying to say is I do think there are sentences inside the sentences, but only if you're using certain words. It's like a lot of run-on sentence type stuff because you're using kai a lot. But like the way they make, like, but it gives it like, but they ignore the dots. Like the dots are never a dot. They're never a period. So here, like below me, you see how they're spelling Yuda, which is Iouda when you're talking about, because it's talking about Israel and Judah. But we've been talking about like hiding the word for Yuda, which is without the I, which I don't know the difference between Yuda and Yuda. Clearly, Izu's name it makes it, I don't know, it's all confusing to me. See, like inside of that sentence, like right here, like right below me is Kai, He, Kakia, Samaria, Samaria's Ati, I, Argasanto, Sude. Sude is soul. Okay, but not in that situation. I think Suke is soul. Sude would be lying. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Pseudo is lying. But it was a falsehood, so it's a different word. That's why I missed it. But if you look at what like contents are inside that sentence, it's the wickedness of Samaria, for they had wrought falsehood. Like that's not, but it says Kaihe Kakia Samaria Ati Arge Santo Sude. I don't know what it means. Ergasanto, arrogance. Maybe like I've realized I need to pronounce EI different ways, because once I realized how important it was to change EI once I realized it. All I'm saying is like for some reason like they have to ignore those periods that much in that one especially. So I think that if like there is a dot, it's that important because there are no periods. And that's why like when like I see them not separated, I think like you're trying to get around it, man. Like why would you be trying so hard to get around the period? Like, it's that important because like when you have a very long sentence, like it is so important to know that like you should probably continue like at least to the end of the dots. Like, because if there's only one form of punctuation, they have no commas, you know that you need them. And like, my whole thing is I've been throwing out periods like every single one. Kai ato tekton epoesa kai u theos esti. And then there's a period because there was a question before that. I don't want to talk about that one because it's not really that helpful, but it is important to like say, like, they are short sentences too. They're not just like that much, because some of them are very long, and that's where I keep having trouble. Like, they can get like very long sometimes, and you have to like mark it. And I don't know when to consider like when I should like combine the two paragraphs. Here's an example, one that might be wrong, and I don't know like exactly, but like this eyes is like the beginning of like a whole poem type situation, and I don't know if like the eyes is a continuation of hoi agnizaminoi kai kathar is zaminoi, or however you say it. And that's because I don't know if like this poloi from the previous, like that sentence that starts after that actual period is like a part of that sentence also, which like what I was thinking before is it might be. A lot of sentences start with hoy, but like, I mean, the thing is like you can put a lot of words in like that agnizaminoi. Like min in my language is without. And like if you know there are no separate words. The words run together. And so like when you see this word right here, kai, you can see it. It's and you see the word lege, that means say, like we would say like saith the Lord, they would like lege curio or whatever. Like it's, you have to see it. Like you have to just look at it and see it. And so like it gets really confusing, especially when like Apollo's name is Apollon, and like it feels like Apollo is Apollo, and like if it's in the whole Old Testament it's probably Apollo, but then they can just break off and put it onto Apollon, and like it's crazy what they can do with their translation. And like they did it with the translation. Like your translation's lying to you, I promise.